In this video, we will go over my complete Madonna collection. This will be an opportunity to talk about her music in more depth and take a closer look at some fun collector's items Madonna has released. Let's start with Ray of Light. As you know from my previous video, my favorite Madonna era is Confessions on a Dance Floor, therefore my record collection consists pretty much of prior releases and follow-ups to Confessions, mostly concentrated in the 2000s, with the oldest release I own being Ray of Light. This album is probably Madonna's most respected work in career, and with reason, as it truly stands out in her discography for her lyrics, vocals, and overall production. Although I like and respect this album, this isn't the project I connect most with sonically, although lyrically and vocally, Madonna probably peaked here. The visuals for this album are iconic. Frozen is probably one of her best releases ever as far as music videos. As a collector's item, I'm glad I have it in my collection because I actually play it, but it's not Madonna's most fun release as far as design goes. I know this album has since been re-released in fun variants, but back when I purchased it, this was the only version available. Next up is music. As much as I love Ray of Light, I admittedly prefer when Madonna indulges in pop and leans into synth sounds. It's probably because of my age, to be honest. I grew up in the 2000s and 2010s with artists indulging in pop to the max. I didn't have the opportunity to talk about music as much in my Confessions video, but I love when Madonna takes the Europop round. Music is maximalist in its production, it's in your face, and in that sense, it's way ahead of its time. I find this album interesting from start to finish, and the dichotomy between the electropop sounds and the cowgirl visual identity accompanying the album is so Madonna to me. As far as a collector's item, it's similar to Ray of Light. It's not a gatefold either, but I think the hay sleeves are a fun touch. But it's still not peak Madonna vinyl releases yet. Now let's take a look at American Life. We talked more extensively about this album in my previous video and the criticism it received, but I personally like this album a lot. There are interesting production choices here, the lyrics are good, and it feels like Madonna tried to push the envelope as far as electro-pop music goes. Outside the visual identity for this album, it feels like a follow-up to Music. While we're on the subject of American Life, in my last video, I wanted to include short clips from the Love Profusion music video because it's so iconic and I love the song so much. But Madonna only has a 480p version up on her channel, and many of my viewers watch my videos on a big-ass TV, so I didn't use the video in the end. This is not the only video on her channel with a low resolution. The music video for Celebration is uploaded at 240p. Unbelievable! After we finish watching my video, can we all flood the comment section of these two music videos and demand high-definition versions, please? The Madonna team surely has those videos in higher resolutions somewhere on a hard drive. I can guarantee MTV did not air Love Profusion all pixelated like that. Anyways, back to the records. I'm pretty sure this is not one of her most collected albums, seeing how divided her fanbase is about this project, and as a collector's item, American Life is not the most exciting, but hey, it's a gatefold, and I like the art inside of it. But don't worry, with the next two releases, Madonna gives us more exciting collector's items. Confessions on a Dance Floor is up next, and if you're familiar with my channel, my previous video is a major deep dive in this album. It is my favorite Madonna album ever. I won't repeat all the praise and the light criticism I had for this album because I dedicated a whole video to this masterpiece. But I will say this is my favorite Madonna record to date. It's timeless, it still sounds fresh, and the vinyl edition of the album matches that excitement. I remember getting this album back in the day and being mesmerized with the pink discs. It wasn't as common of a thing when I first purchased this when compared to today. Artists did not release different variants like today, so it really stood out in my collection. It might not be a big deal as far as the music goes, but we have to admit that it's always fun to have a colored pressing. Watching the neon disc spin in the turntable adds to the excitement, and under these lights, the discs really pop. By the way, if you like videos like this where we look at my record collection in between main uploads, let me know in the comments below and give me a like so I have an idea of how popular these videos are. I have a ton of albums we can go through. Let me know also if you have any specific artists you would like to do a deep dive on in my collection. While we are on the topic of confessions, I'd like to address the #1 criticism I receive on my deep dive video regarding my age, which is ironic given how much Madonna is unfairly criticized for her age, and I talk about it in that video. The comments in question come from some, but not all, longtime fans who seem unable to accept that younger generations can connect with Madonna too, just for different reasons and through different eras. They're trying to invalidate how I connect with Madonna because they grew up with Madonna in the 80s and 90s, in the early days of her career. That's great, I love that for them. But I too grew up with Madonna, only it was not in the 80s and 90s, it was in the 2000s and the 2010s. I wasn't born when Madonna began her career. I became a fan because she successfully reached a new generation when I was a teenager, and I've been a fan ever since. In the same way, Confessions 2 will introduce Madonna to young people who were not even around for the original album. That won't make them, quote, bandwagon fans any more than my generation was. Every era brings in new fans, that's how Madonna built a lasting legacy, and every generation of fans will relate to her art differently, obviously. Up next is Hard Candy. This might not be my favorite Madonna album, although I like it. It is definitely my favorite Madonna collector's item. As you're about to see, it's very colorful. And it's a fat one. It has 3 discs, so it can be hard to squeeze in and out of its protective cover. We talked about this album in my previous video. As you know, I like this album, although I argued it's not as good as Confessions on the Dance Floor. I also talk about how this album marks a shift for Madonna as far as marketing and innovation. But regardless, this is a solid physical release for Madonna. The 2 main records literally look like they came straight out of a candy shop. As far as the pressing goes, this is my favorite Madonna collector's item in my collection. It looks cute when it spins too. 10 out of 10, it never gets old. It's a shame she did not lean more heavily in this aesthetic like the candy shop theme for her music videos during this era. Alright, let's take a look at MDNA. Okay, so Madonna's next 3 albums, starting with MDNA, were all released under Interscope Records. With Confessions 2, Madonna is coming back to Warner Music, which is welcomed in my opinion because her releases under Interscope are not as good as her previous work, and the physical releases are also more dull. I will say though, I really like the visuals of this album. Look at the cover and the coherent art inside the gatefold. I think that's fun. As far as vinyl goes, we're back to black pressing, which feels like a letdown after the 2 previous albums. At the time, I liked MDNA, but I don't think it holds as nicely today. We were expecting a little more fantasy from Madonna, especially for an album named after a party drug. But hey, what the fuck is MDNA anyway? Rebel Heart is up next. Funny enough, I actually forgot I owned this album until I planned this video. Rebel Heart is not an album I revisit much, if ever. It sounds muddy, I don't like the production at all. As a collector's item, Rebel Heart has some cool imagery, including this photography inside the gatefold. The pressing is black, which feels appropriate for an album as bland as Rebel Heart. It's a preachy album, and I don't like when Madonna gets preachy. I want to dance to her music, and this is not it. It is also the last Madonna album I have in my collection as of the filming of this video. I'd like to eventually acquire Confessions too, but I will definitely never purchase Madame X, Madonna's worst album in career. Like I pointed out in my previous video, my physical copy of Rebel Heart as well as MDNA are labeled under Interscope Records because they were purchased during that era, whereas if you look on Apple Music today, MDNA, Rebel Heart, and Madame X are all labeled under Warner Music, following the consolidation of her work with Interscope under the Warner umbrella upon her return to her original label. In other words, my copies of MDNA and Rebel Heart are the original pressings. Anyway, let me know what physical release in my collection was your favorite and what Madonna album I should purchase next. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, you're probably gonna like this one or this one.